Good evening, Bahamas. Coming up tonight, that October reopening for Bahamar now looking very unlikely. We've got the story. An elderly woman robbed and beaten. Police now on the hunt. Plus, health officials investigating claims of medical malpractice at PMH.
Our News is brought to you by Alive.
Welcome to Our News, and thank you for joining us. I'm Kyle Joaquin. It is unlikely that we will see an October reopening for Bahamar, according to the resort's president, Graham Davis. He told Our News, given the continued uncertainty surrounding community spread of COVID-19 in the country and the U.S., coupled with a lack of widespread testing, October doesn't seem like an option at the moment.
We don't see October as a viable date to open it at this time. But we certainly want to open as quickly as possible.
Just a day after tourism officials shared a goal of November for the full reopening of the country's tourism industry, one of the country's major resorts is pushing back its reopening date. Back in June, Bahamar had announced plans to reopen in October. But with that revised opening date just weeks away, the resort's president doesn't foresee that happening, citing uncertainty surrounding the increase in cases and a lack of widespread testing.
But we really need to see a point where we have the health visa program starting to take place in a very easy format, widespread testing availability, not only here but in the United States. Right now it is cumbersome to get a COVID test and get those results in time. So all of these little factors lead into that lack of demand at the moment.
Visitors are required to obtain a travel health visa, which means they must be tested for COVID-19 and present negative results within 5 days. They must also vacation in place, another term being used for the mandatory 14-day quarantine period. And while the Bahamas has been listed as the second most desirable Caribbean destination that Americans would visit, Davis says there's more convincing that has to be done to prove that the American market is ready to travel.
We need to see cases start to fall off significantly in the United States. We'd love to see a vaccine get rolled out. We want to see the general public in our key markets ready to travel and get on a plane and come to the Bahamas.
With an October reopening now not a viable option for the resort, Davis was unable to give a new date. In the meantime, $200 million has been invested in its water features with Baja Bay under construction. But the resort has also had to pump out over $50 million in ex gratia payments for employees and severance pay for the over 1,000 employees it had to cut ties with.
But those associates that are still with us, which are well over 3,500, are being paid an ex gratia payment, keeping our benefits full, and that's a commitment that our ownership has made.
Davis says he sees the light at the end of the tunnel, but says it'll take the patience and cooperation of everyone, following guidelines and working towards bringing the community spread under control.
Our ownership back in Hong Kong are so looking forward to getting the property reopened again and are excited about what they see for the future. So we're ready as soon as all of those areas I just mentioned are in place, and we look forward to making that announcement very soon.
In other news, an elderly woman who was beaten up and robbed says she is now frightened to stay in her own home. Jared H. has her story.
When the guy came in and he hold my neck, he said, "Give me the effing money."
A 68-year-old grandmother is traumatized after she says two bandits broke into her home and demanded money.
He said, "If you make noise, I'll kill you." And he pushed the gun in my mouth. Gun butt me, and my teeth is out and hit me in my eye.
The woman did not want to have her face shown on camera. The incident took place at 3 a.m. on Monday. The frightened woman says it was the second time in days that she was targeted by thieves.
They break into the back window. They used a crowbar and got into the back window.
The woman agreed to have her photo taken if we blurred out her eyes. Now she's missing two bottom teeth and has a red right eye. The thieves wanted money, but they made off with her vehicle, which was later recovered.
I'm going to go and stay with one of my kids. I have to come out of my house. I have to come out of my house and go because of this. I'm going to go and stay with one of my kids because I don't want to be traumatized anymore.
Police confirmed the incident and said they are investigating. Area MP Ruben Raming offered the woman cameras to keep her home under surveillance.
What I did for you, I got this security system. It is solar powered. It will connect to the phone of your children. They will install it however they want to install it. It could be installed anywhere, so that they could also feel comfortable and keep an eye on you and make sure that you're safe. That's some degree of safety to it.
I wish you all find them and I see them, I get them, I will give them a beating myself.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Jared Higgs.
Health Minister Ronald Weld says recent claims about Princess Margaret Hospital are not sitting well with him, adding the Public Hospitals Authority is investigating social media reports that have surfaced recently regarding the death of women shortly after giving birth and newborns at PMH.
As a father and as a husband who has lost children, just seeing the story brought back my own circumstances. And as such, PHA, I believe the managing director would have spoken to the issue as to the fact that we're looking into it. We have not received any direct complaints, written complaints, but the ministry is looking into it. I know that the staff at PMH had a meeting yesterday on those kinds of circumstances in social media.
Weld said the matters have come to the attention of the Ministry of Health. However, no official complaints were made.
Well, let me say I've not received any letter from any individual other than a mother whose child that was recently delivered about a week ago, whose child needed emergency heart surgery. And there was the opportunity made for this child to be able to go to the United States, to be able to have that life-saving surgery. I signed off on that letter as Minister of Health for the air ambulance to deliver that child. That child was delivered yesterday into Miami. That is the only letter I have received in regards to health care and health issues.
Wells added that the public should understand that healthcare workers are stretched thin. Well, the $1.5 billion in pledges made to the government during a pledge conference back in January to assist with Hurricane Dorian rebuilding efforts has yet to be collected, according to Minister Iram Lewis, who said the government has only received a small fraction of that figure. Here's George O'Bain.
Despite that $1.5 billion being pledged to the Bahamas to assist with reconstruction efforts following the passage of Hurricane Dorian, Minister of Disaster Preparedness Iram Lewis revealing that only a little over $300,000 has been given to the Bahamas so far. Back in January, the government said it received $1.5 billion in pledges during a United Nations Development Program Hurricane Dorian Pledge Conference. The pledges included technical and intellectual assistance, concessionary loans, grants, and guarantee financing. Months later, Lewis said that the figure had increased to $1.7 billion. However, outside cabinet today, Lewis revealed that since January, there has been a tremendous shortfall in those pledges coming in.
A lot of funds was pledged from the pledge conference. We got over $1.5 billion pledged. However, we received $364,000 in cash and deposit. So there's a serious shortfall. And on top of that, with COVID-19 pandemic, a lot of priority shift from persons who would have made pledge. So there was a little we did not collect all that was pledged.
A $975 million pledge by the P3 Group was the largest of the $1.5 billion in pledge donations for Hurricane Dorian Relief Aid Conference. The P3 Group CEO Dee Brown confirmed that the amount pledged would be a loan financed by the group and repaid with interest. The hefty figure was inclusive of a $10 million pledge made by the government of the Bahamas. But according to Lewis, the pandemic has made it difficult for those funds to be posted. As for others who have made pledges, Lewis said there is no way of ensuring that they will follow through.
There's no way we can force anyone who made a pledge to give us their pledge, but we are hopeful that those who pledge will honor their commitment. And as the pledge comes in, we will use it in the community, and I'll be able to account for it, as I've done in the past, how the funds were expended.
Lewis could not say when those who have applied will be able to process their claims, which leaves some 5,000 persons in limbo.
In terms of persons who would have registered, we have spent quite a bit of the funds towards the reconstruction, debris management. It's been very taxing, but understanding the importance of it, as a government, as a responsible government, we will do our best to not only clean up our communities, but do our best to ensure that persons are back in their homes. And we're looking for partners. You know, the government doesn't have all the money, so you may know somebody who could help us out.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Georgie O'Bain.
Well, just over a year after Hurricane Dorian damaged Rand Memorial Hospital, multi-million-dollar repairs at that facility are still ongoing. Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis and several Grand Bahama ministers got a first-hand look at those repairs during a tour of the facility on Monday. Jasmine Brown has more.
Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis attended the tour moments after wrapping up a press conference at the office of the Prime Minister in Grand Bahama on Monday afternoon. He was joined on the tour by Deputy Prime Minister Peter Turnquest, Minister of State for Grand Bahama Kwesi Thompson, and Minister of State for Disaster Preparedness Management and Reconstruction Iram Lewis. Leading the tour was Hospital Administrator Sharon Williams. The tour comes a year after Dorian severely damaged the RAN. $20 million has been allocated for its restoration. According to health officials, the project is split into 3 parts and got underway in late April.
This will be the main unit returned to us that has our medical, surgical, some of our obstetrics patients will be on this ward, most of them. Now, this is going to end up total 58 beds once we return.
We only had about 70 initially.
We had 86, so we will be down a few, but of course we can manage with the other facilities until we quickly return to the capacity we need.
That phase of the project is scheduled for completion in October 2020. The PM was also shown the Rand Memorial Hospital's COVID-19 unit, which health officials say is 98% complete. The new COVID-19 infectious disease unit is being developed at a budget cost of $1.3 million.
This is where you would manage a patient like that, whether it's a COVID suspect, a COVID positive patient, but this room is pretty much this AMR has an ICU. All of the rooms have the capacity to manage and care for an ICU level patient, but this room in particular is where we would direct an ICU level patient to.
Minnis and his delegation also toured ongoing repairs at the male and female wards, the operation theaters, children's wards, IT department, the new pharmacy, and a revised reception area and entrance to the hospital.
That is the obstetric and the pediatric area. Of course, the pediatric area, as we said, is almost ready, but we cannot bring them in sections. We have to bring the whole center at the same time.
Phase 2 of the Rand Memorial repairs is slated to begin in October. Reporting for Our News, I'm Jasmine Brown.
All right, thanks, Jasmine. More news on the way, but here's a first look at weather with meteorologist Greg Thompson. Good night, Greg.
Thanks, Kyle. I'm meteorologist Greg Thompson with your first look at weather. Outside our studios, warm and muggy conditions with partly cloudy skies. Temperature around 84 degrees Fahrenheit. The winds are out of the southeast to east at 5 knots. Feels like temperature around 89 degrees Fahrenheit. On our satellite, tropical moisture continues to produce quite a bit of cloudy conditions across the islands. Showers and thunderstorms occurring across Andros, Grand Bahama, and the Abacos. We will continue to see that trend throughout the night and into tomorrow. That's your first look at weather. Your extended forecast is still to come.
Still to come, the mother of a young COVID victim feels abandoned. Plus, Grand Bahama Airport sale talks continue. Stay tuned.
Rev over the next promotion. Okay. Nice.
Bye. You give up it.
Best 2 out of 3.
Sign up for Rev Trio and opt in to NBA League Pass absolutely free. Visit rev.bs or call 601-8992 for details. Rev, you and us, together.
The mother of a 20-year-old woman who died at Princess Margaret Hospital last month is speaking out again after health officials confirmed the death of the 20-year-old woman from COVID-19. However, Jared Hicks tells us the grieving mother is waiting to hear from those officials.
He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands.
If Shekinah Dean were alive today, no doubt she would have been singing to her newborn son.
She would say, Mommy,
I'm in a better place. I don't need you to take care of Kyrie.
Dean was just 20 years old when she died at PMH on August 26. Just over a day later, her mother, Karen Dean, informed us that her daughter had tested positive for COVID-19 during her hospital stay. Our News' inquiries with Ministry of Health officials were not acknowledged, but on Saturday, health officials revealed that a 20-year-old woman died from COVID-19 on August 26. The grieving mother is left to make assumptions.
I haven't heard anything. Shekinah isn't a special patient, but in terms of her treatment at PMH, I figured someone should have reached out to me already, give their condolences, but I haven't heard anything from the Ministry of Health.
The Public Hospitals Authority declined to comment when reached by the Nassau Guardian on the matter today. The pregnant 20-year-old was admitted to hospital on August 16th after she vomited blood. Her death makes her the youngest person to die from COVID-19 during the pandemic. Dean says she was in touch with her daughter throughout her hospital stay and heard her daughter cry for help one night to no avail. Still, she says she saw positive signs and thought she would pull through.
She was on her way to recovery because she came of total fluids from drips and eating ice to now drinking water, being able to drink apple juice and eating food, and the next day she was gone.
When we first interviewed Dean back on August 27th, she made it clear that she was deeply concerned with the care her daughter received. The PHA said the woman's death and claims that she received poor care were under investigation. Since then, though, social media has been rife with stories of poor treatment being meted out by some nurses. Dean says now she wishes her daughter stayed with her.
You at home, you can't do nothing. You can't go there, you can't assist her. And you know, you're the person that is there for her at all times. And now at this point, at least I didn't even know that she was dying at this point. You can't help her.
The grieving mother says instead of planning vacations with her daughter, she has a difficult task of planning her funeral. She also has a huge responsibility. Shekinah's 20-day-old son, Kyrie. The whole ordeal is overwhelming at times.
My daughter cannot be replaced. She cannot be replaced. I'm wearing her on a shirt. I never dreamed I would wear my daughter on a shirt. My 20-year-old daughter on a shirt.
Dean says she's getting by with the support of family. She promises to raise her grandson like her own. Reporting for Our News, I'm Jared Higgs.
Thanks, Jared. Well, government discussions continue with Hutchinson Ports and the Grand Bahama Port Authority to finalize an agreement for the best way forward in rebuilding the Grand Bahama Airport. That's according to Prime Minister Minnis, who released a statement after touring the airport on Monday afternoon. Deputy Prime Minister Peter Turnquest was asked about plans to expand the terminal.
So it's like an overflow? No. So what the plan is to basically, we have international and domestic together. We're going to use one standard to process everybody. This is additional gates. So right now we have 2 gates. This is right. We're going to have four gates now.
The island's airport sustained extensive damage during Hurricane Dorian 1 year ago. Dissatisfied with the efforts shown by the airport's owners to rebuild, the government indicated its plan to purchase the airport at the end of 2019. More than 8 months later, the government has not solidified a deal. Last month, Minister of Tourism and Aviation Dionisio de Aguilar said the parties are meandering through the negotiation process. Still to come, virtual classes begin at some private schools. That's coming up when Our News returns.
Rev up in the next promotion? Okay. Nice.
Bye. You give up it.
That's 2 out of 3.
Sign up for Rev Trio and opt in to NBA League Pass absolutely free. Visit rev.bs or call 601-8992 for details. Rev, you and us, together.
You're watching Our News. Welcome back. Virtual learning has started for many private school students who went back to the classroom yesterday. Parents say while the virtual classroom is new, they're comfortable with the setup. Jillian Gray has more.
Caden DeVoe wakes up at about 7 a.m. every morning to get ready for class. Though school is now only a few steps away from his bed, his mother, Westisha DeVoe, says setting a routine has been important in establishing structure in the virtual classroom.
I told him, I said, listen, I'm going to call your cell phone, put the cell phone on the tripod stand. I'm going to call your cell phone and I'm going to watch you to make sure that you remain focused in the classroom.
For educator and mom of two, Sherelle Edwards, setting up a space for the three of them to work and learn at home has been easy, though her 5-year-old is not ready to get back to learning just yet.
She's not interested in the fact that school is opening next week because she hasn't had enough time at home, you know. Yes, that's what she said. And then she also said that, you know, she can't be going back to the class because the virus is out there. I said, you won't be going back to the class. It will be virtual. So this is going to be something very interesting with the little one.
Meanwhile, mother of 3, Gia Williams, said things are still up in the air for her 6- and 8-year-old. However, her 2-year-old daughter went back to in-person class this week, a move that she said she's comfortable with.
A lady that is the caretaker, she is very thorough. She's very alert. Nothing slides past her. So I was quite comfortable with letting my 2-year-old go to her small group. It's a very small group, very, very small group. On the other hand, I am still nervous, concerned about my 2 other boys that would be in primary school. Still haven't decided if we're gonna do the stressful virtual or if we're gonna take a chance with the face-to-face, if we're just gonna sit out this semester. Still undecided in that area. It's a lot of things to consider.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Jillian Gray.
All right, thanks, Jillian. Still to come, the Anglican MP slams the tourism reopening plan. Stay tuned.
Rev over the next promotion? Okay. Nice.
Bye. You give up it.
That's 2 out of 3.
Sign up for Rev Trio and opt in to NBA League Pass absolutely free. Visit rev.bs or call 601-8992 for details. Rev, you and us, together.
Shadow Tourism Minister Glenys Hannah Martin slamming the details of government's phased plan to reopen the tourism industry. The Anglican MP says the tourism minister's report does not seem to take into account that the country is in a crisis. Berthany McDermott has more.
Government's plan of a phased reopening for the tourism sector didn't impress Shadow Tourism Minister Glenys Hannah Martin, who charged that the minister's statement lacked substance and depth.
I think his statement lacked depth, it lacked analysis. And I really came out of that with very little confidence that this administration I think they're just limping along, and I'm very concerned about it. I have the strongest of feelings that we are lacking leadership in this country at a critical time in our history, and a time when it is absolutely vital. It is missing in action.
Her comments came after Tourism Minister Dionisio Diaguilar laid out government's plan to reopen the tourism industry by early November. According to Diaguilar, upon arrival, visitors will have to vacation in place for 14 days or the length of their trip, which is a rebranded version of quarantine. However, Hannah Martin asserted it isn't quarantine. She also questioned how government intends to enforce what she fears could be a high-risk situation.
You have a couple problems, right? You have hotel workers who are going home every day. How are you going to enforce a tourist leaving the hotel? How are you going to enforce this staying in place? And it's not quarantine. Quarantine is quarantine, and that's not quarantine. And so that is inbuilt with risks, and if you pull it to pieces, it don't make no sense, really. It's just a risky situation that the government is prepared to undertake in the interest of doing something.
According to the plan, Phase 3 of the tourism reopening will begin on October 15th with full beach access on all islands, the reopening of major hotels, and access to all amenities and water taxis. On November 1st, tour and excursions are expected to resume. However, it remains unclear when Phase 4, which includes vendors, jet ski operations, casinos, cruise, and ferries, will begin. Hannah Martin said vacationing in place will have serious implications for other tourism-related industries like taxis.
Yes, this has serious implications for the other areas of tourism. You have ground transport, but you ain't going nowhere, so that's that.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Berthany McDermott.
That's a look at news. We throw it back to meteorologist Greg Thompson for the extended weather forecast.
Thanks again, Kyle. I'm meteorologist Greg Thompson with your second look at weather. On our satellite, lots of tropical moisture across the islands, producing quite a bit of our unsettled weather. Some thunderstorms and shower activity across the Grand Bahama, the Abacos, as well as the Grand Bahama area. That will continue to be the trend for the next day or two. Your boating forecast for the northwest and central Bahamas tonight through tomorrow. East to southeast winds, 10 knot, seas running 1 to 3 feet over the ocean. While across the southeast Bahamas and east to southeasterly flow at 10 to 15 knots continues, seas running 2 to 4 feet over the ocean. Here's a look now at your national forecast. Now we'll look at your extended forecast through Sunday. That's a look at your weather. Make it a great night, everyone.
Well, thank you for joining us for Our News tonight. And on behalf of the entire team, I'm Kyle Joaquin. Remember, you can catch Our News on the go with the Rev Go Play app. Have a good Tuesday evening, Bahamas.